delicate illusions. Ethan Reed wiped his calloused hands on his worn jeans, surveying the handcrafted oak dining table he'd just finished. The afternoon sun streamed through his workshop windows, catching dust motes that danced around him like tiny stars. His phone buzzed with a reminder, dinner with Olivia at 7. 9 months of dating, and still each time he saw her, his heart performed the same ridiculous somersault. Olivia Parker had walked into his small furniture shop last winter, looking for a custom piece for her growing lifestyle blog. With her warm amber eyes and infectious laugh, she had captivated him immediately. "Just finishing up," he texted her, glancing at his simple watch. Enough time to shower and change before picking her up in his trusty 10-year-old Toyota. Across town, Olivia carefully arranged her third outfit option on her bed, frowning at the reflection in her full-length mirror. The cream silk blouse paired with designer jeans would look perfect for the casual yet elegant restaurant Ethan had chosen. She adjusted her carefully styled honey blonde waves and thought about the evening ahead. "You're practically glowing," her roommate Jasmine observed from the doorway. "Big night?" Olivia smiled mysteriously. "Maybe. We've been together almost a year now. I think tonight might be significant. And yet you still haven't taken him home to meet the parents?" Jasmine raised an eyebrow. Olivia's smile faltered slightly. "Dad would just see the sawdust under his nails and make assumptions. You know how he is about my marrying well." "But you like Ethan, right? Not just his potential?" "Of course I do. He's kind and thoughtful and—" Olivia trailed off, fingering the delicate gold bracelet Ethan had given her for her birthday. Simple but elegant. "I just wish sometimes he'd be more ambitious. He's talented enough to have his pieces in high-end galleries, but he seems content making furniture for local families." The doorbell rang and Olivia's pulse quickened. She grabbed her designer purse, checked her reflection once more, and headed to the door. Ethan stood there, hair still damp from his shower, wearing his nicest button-down shirt and the dark jeans she'd helped him pick out. His smile was genuine, his eyes bright with affection. "You look beautiful," he said, kissing her cheek. During dinner, Ethan seemed distracted, his hand occasionally patting his pocket. Olivia noticed, but said nothing, excitement building inside her. The restaurant was intimate, with soft lighting and quiet conversation all around them. "I've been thinking," Ethan said as they finished dessert, "about us in the future." Olivia smiled encouragingly. "Me too." What Olivia didn't know was that behind Ethan's modest demeanor lay a different story entirely. The small workshop and apartment above it were choices, not necessities. The land his grandfather had left him, acres of pristine woodland overlooking the lake, housed a stunning home he'd built with his own hands, a sanctuary he shared with no one. No one knew about his patents from his engineering days or the investments that had quietly flourished. The simplicity of his life wasn't born of limitation but of painful experience. A former fiancé who had vanished when his startup failed, returning only when it unexpectedly sold for millions. As Ethan reached for his pocket, a small velvet box burning against his fingers, he wondered if Olivia truly saw him, the man beneath the carpenter's apron, or merely a project with potential. Part 2. Shattered Expectations. Shattered Expectations. The restaurant seemed to quiet around them as Ethan slid from his chair to one knee beside their table. A few nearby diners noticed, exchanging knowing smiles. Olivia's breath caught in her throat as Ethan pulled out a small velvet box. "Olivia," he began, voice steady despite his racing heart. "This past year has shown me what matters most in life. Not things or status, but connection. Someone to share both struggles and joys with." He opened the box, revealing a simple silver band with a modest, solitaire diamond. The ring caught the candlelight, glinting softly, nothing like the elaborate platinum and diamond creations that filled Olivia's Pinterest board labeled "Someday." "I love you, and I want to build a life together. Will you marry me?" Olivia stared at the ring, her expression shifting from anticipation to confusion to something else entirely. A small incredulous laugh escaped her lips before she could stop it. Is this a placeholder?" she whispered, hoping desperately that he was joking, that the real ring was hidden somewhere else. Ethan's smile faltered. No, I chose it carefully. I thought it suited you. Elegant, not flashy. Another laugh bubbled up, this one edged with panic. The nearby tables had gone silent, witnesses to what was rapidly becoming a disaster. Ethan, she said, voice strained, we've talked about my career, my image. This isn't... She gestured at the ring, then lowered her voice. I can't post this. My followers expect certain things from me. The color drained from Ethan's face. You're saying no because the ring isn't expensive enough for your Instagram? That's not fair, Olivia hissed, acutely aware of the watching eyes. But yes, presentation matters in my world. This looks like something a college student would give. Ethan closed the box with a snap. I see. Don't be like that, she said, frustration rising. I'm being practical. If we're going to build a life, we need to think about appearances. Appearances, he repeated flatly. Yes, like your truck, your apartment above your shop. They're charming for now, but eventually... She trailed off, seeing the hardening in his eyes. Eventually you'd want to upgrade me too, he asked quietly. That's not what I meant! But the damage was done. Ethan placed the ring box on the table and stood, his face impassive now. I think you've made yourself clear, Olivia. Ethan, wait! She reached for his arm. I'll pay the bill on my way out. Take an Uber home. He walked away, back straight, leaving her alone at the table with curious eyes all around. The next morning, Olivia woke to a single text message. If you want to understand what you turned down, meet me at my shop at noon. One last conversation. Pride told her to ignore it. Guilt and curiosity pushed her to reply. I'll be there. When she arrived at his workshop, Ethan was loading tools into his truck. He wore faded jeans and a simple t-shirt, looking somehow both familiar and like a stranger. Get in, he said without preamble. There's something you should see. The drive took them out of the city, past suburbs and into wooded hills. Olivia's questions went largely unanswered as Ethan navigated winding roads she'd never seen before. After nearly an hour, they turned onto a private drive marked only with Reed property, private. Through the trees, a structure began to emerge, modern lines of glass and natural wood, perfectly integrated into the surrounding landscape. Expansive yet somehow humble, the house commanded attention without shouting for it. What is this place? Olivia asked as they parked. Home, Ethan replied simply. My real one. Unveiled truths. Olivia stepped into the foyer, her eyes widening at the soaring ceiling supported by exposed timber beams. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating hand-hewn furniture that she immediately recognized as Ethan's work, pieces far more sophisticated than what he sold in his shop. I don't understand, she whispered, trailing her fingers along a walnut console table that would have fetched thousands in any high-end gallery. Clearly, Ethan replied, his voice neither bitter nor angry, just tired. He moved through the space with familiar ease, dropping his keys in a handcrafted bowl on a side table. This is where I actually live, most weekends anyway. The apartment is convenient for workdays. Olivia followed him into a great room where a stone fireplace anchored one wall. Above it hung a black-and-white photograph of a younger Ethan, standing beside an older man, both holding woodworking tools, smiling. My grandfather, Ethan explained, catching her gaze. He left me this land with one condition, that I build something meaningful on it. But why hide all this? Olivia gestured around them. The craftsmanship, the property, it's incredible. Ethan's laugh held no humor. 6 years ago, I was engaged to someone else, Melissa. I had a tech startup then, not a woodworking business. When it failed, she left. When it unexpectedly sold 6 months later, she came back. He shrugged. Lesson learned. He led her through the house, a gourmet kitchen with custom cabinetry, a library with built-in shelves, a studio space filled with designs and blueprints. Each room revealed another layer of the man she thought she knew. After Melissa, I decided to pursue what I really loved, working with my hands. The patents from my tech days provide more than enough income, but I wanted someone who valued me, not my bank account. His eyes met hers. So I lived simply in town, ran my shop, and waited to find someone real. Olivia felt her chest tighten. You were testing me. No, he countered, leading her onto a deck overlooking a pristine lake. I was protecting myself. There's a difference. They stood in silence, the magnitude of what she'd thrown away settling over Olivia like a heavy cloak. Not just the beautiful house or hidden wealth, but the depth of the man who had crafted a life of such intentional authenticity. Why show me this now? She finally asked. Because you deserve to know what you actually rejected. Ethan leaned against the railing. It wasn't about the ring being too small or my truck being too old. It was about you not seeing the value in what can't be photographed for social media. The words stung because they contained truth. Olivia thought of all the posts she'd crafted, each one filtered and positioned for maximum envy from her followers. How many moments had she missed while trying to capture the perfect shot? I did love you, she said quietly. That wasn't fake? Maybe, Ethan acknowledged. But you loved the idea of what I could become more. The potential renovation project? He straightened. I don't want to be someone's before picture, Olivia. A movement near the tree line caught their attention. A woman with dark curly hair emerged, carrying a basket of what appeared to be fresh vegetables. Oh, sorry to interrupt, she called. I thought you were coming tomorrow, Ethan. Change of plans, Sophie, he replied, his expression softening. The community garden looks good this year. Better than last year. Sophie approached, extending her free hand to Olivia. Hi there. I'm Sophie Bennett. I run the nature center down the road. Olivia shook her hand automatically, noticing the easy familiarity between Sophie and Ethan, the way tension seemed to leave his shoulders in her presence. Sophie's grandfather owned the neighboring property, Ethan explained. We grew up spending summers here together. Before this one got all fancy with his architect dreams, Sophie teased, bumping his shoulder with hers. The simple gesture spoke volumes about shared history, comfortable friendship, and something else, possibility. In that moment, Olivia saw with painful clarity what genuine connection looked like. No filters, no staging, just authentic human bonds forged through time and mutual understanding. And she realized she had much to learn about what truly mattered. Reflections and revelations. 3 weeks after the revelation at Ethan's lake house, Olivia sat cross-legged on her apartment floor, surrounded by notebooks and her laptop. Her popular Instagram account hadn't been updated in days, an eternity in influencer terms. Instead, she'd been examining every aspect of the carefully curated life she'd constructed. You're doing what? Jasmine asked, peering over her shoulder at the draft of a new blog post titled, The Authenticity Project. Reevaluating, Olivia replied, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I've been promoting a lifestyle I don't even live myself, just one I stage for photos. The rejection of Ethan's proposal had become an unexpected catalyst. Each morning, she woke thinking of his words. I don't want to be someone's before picture. The truth in them had cracked something open inside her. Meanwhile, across town, Ethan sat at his workshop bench, carefully sanding a jewelry box. The familiar rhythm of the work soothed him, even as his mind wandered. He'd channeled his hurt into creativity, producing some of his finest pieces. The bell above his shop door jingled. Sophie walked in, carrying 2 coffee cups and a brown paper bag. Breakfast delivery, she announced, placing 1 cup near his elbow. You forgot again, didn't you? Ethan smiled sheepishly. Lost track of time. Sophie hopped up onto a stool, unpacking a bagel sandwich and pushing half toward him. The community center board approved your furniture donation proposal, by the way. They're thrilled. That's great news, he said, taking a bite. How are the nature programs going? Full registration for summer. I added another wilderness skills weekend after the last one filled up in 2 days. They fell into easy conversation, the kind built on decades of friendship and genuine interest in each other's lives. Sophie had always been there. Through his grandfather's passing, the startup's failure, Melissa's betrayal. She'd helped him frame the roof of his lake house, covered in sawdust and laughing as they worked until sunset. You seem better, Sophie observed, her green eyes studying him. Less in your head than last week. I am, he acknowledged. Showing Olivia the lake house was clarifying. For her or for you? Both, I think. Sophie nodded, then hesitated. Speaking of clarity, there's something I've been meaning to... The shop door opened again. Olivia stood there, looking different somehow, her hair pulled back simply, minimal makeup, wearing jeans and a plain blouse instead of her usual carefully styled outfits. I'm sorry to interrupt, she said, glancing between them. I tried calling. My phone's in the back, Ethan replied, standing. The air grew thick with unspoken words. Sophie slipped off her stool. I should go. Those trail maps won't update themselves. She squeezed Ethan's arm, nodded politely to Olivia, and left. Alone together, Ethan gestured to the stool Sophie had vacated. What can I do for you, Olivia? She remained standing. I've been thinking about us. About everything. I was wrong, Ethan. Not just about the ring, but about what matters. Olivia, please, let me finish. I've spent years chasing likes and followers, crafting this perfect image that isn't real. You showed me what authenticity actually looks like. She took a deep breath. I understand if it's too late for us, but I needed you to know that I see it now. What you were trying to show me all along. Ethan studied her, seeing genuine remorse in her eyes. People don't change overnight, he said gently. I know, this isn't overnight. It's been building for a long time. You just helped me see it. She pulled out her phone, opened her Instagram profile, and handed it to him. The most recent post showed her sitting at a simple wooden desk. No filters, no staging. The caption read, beginning a journey toward authenticity. Less curated, more real. Who's with me? It's a start, she said, taking back the phone. I'm not asking for another chance, Ethan, just for you to know that what you showed me mattered. It changed something. As she turned to leave, Ethan called after her. Olivia? She paused, hope flickering across her face. I wish you well, he said sincerely. I really do. After she left, Ethan sat back down at his workbench, fingers tracing the delicate inlay of the jewelry box he'd been crafting. It wasn't for Olivia, hadn't been from the start. The thought surprised him with its clarity and the absence of pain it brought. Outside the window, he caught a glimpse of Sophie walking down the street, sunlight catching in her curls. Something shifted in his chest. Recognition, possibility, the comfort of seeing clearly what had been there all along. Authentic Foundations 1 year later, the gathering at the lake house hummed with laughter and conversation. Strings of soft lights hung between the trees, illuminating tables set with wildflowers and handmade wooden centerpieces. Ethan stood at the edge of the deck, watching his friends and family mingle, a contentment he'd once thought impossible settling deep in his bones. Penny for your thoughts? Sophie appeared beside him, slipping her hand into his. Her simple white dress caught the breeze, and the small wooden ring on her left hand, one he'd carved from the same cherry tree they'd climbed as children, glinted in the fading light. Just appreciating the view, he replied, squeezing her hand. Their journey from lifelong friendship to love had unfolded naturally after that day in his workshop. No grand gestures or dramatic revelations, just the quiet recognition of what had always been there, waiting for them both to be ready. Sophie leaned against him. I still can't believe we're doing this. Opening the retreat center. Your grandfather would have loved it. Our grandfathers, Ethan corrected gently. Both of them. They had combined their neighboring properties into something new. A nature and craft retreat center where people could disconnect from digital lives and reconnect with themselves through wilderness skills and traditional craftsmanship. Did you see who made it? Sophie nodded toward a slender figure by the lakefront. Olivia stood chatting with guests, her camera hanging around her neck. A professional one now, not just a smartphone. She'd transformed her influencer platform into a documentary project on artisans and craftspeople across the country. Highlighting the beauty of work done by hand, her photos for the website are perfect, Ethan said. I'm glad you invited her. She's done good work, Sophie agreed without jealousy. Found her own path. Later, as evening settled over the property, Ethan found Olivia alone on the dock, capturing the sunset over the water. These are stunning, he said, glancing at her camera screen. You've got a real eye. Thanks, she smiled. This place makes it easy. It has a soul. How's the documentary series going? Better than I expected. Turns out there's a real hunger for authenticity out there. She shook her head ruefully. Who knew? They shared a laugh. The awkwardness between them long faded into something like friendship. I'm happy for you, Ethan, she said sincerely, glancing back toward the party where Sophie was animatedly explaining something to a group of guests. You found someone who saw the real you from the beginning. We all get there eventually, he replied. Different paths, same destination. Olivia's phone buzzed. She checked it, smiling. That's David. He's running late. Gallery opening went longer than expected. The sculptor you've been seeing? Yes, he makes beautiful things but forgets basic directions, she laughed, the sound genuine and unself-conscious. We balance each other out. As they walked back toward the gathering, Ethan reflected on the unexpected ways life unfolded. The proposal that had seemed like an ending had actually been a beginning, for both of them. The retreat center, set to open the following month, already had a waiting list. His furniture commissions now sold to collectors who valued craftsmanship over trends. Sophie's wilderness programs were expanding to include year-round offerings. None of it photographed particularly well for social media. None of it fit into the life he'd once thought he wanted. Yet here was something richer, more textured, built on a foundation of authenticity. Later that night, after the guests had gone and stars scattered across the sky like diamonds on velvet, Ethan and Sophie sat on the dock, feet dangling in the cool water. Second thoughts? Sophie asked, resting her head on his shoulder. Not one, he replied, wrapping his arm around her. You? Only that we didn't figure this out sooner. Ethan smiled into the darkness. Maybe we needed the time to become who we are now. Philosophy from a furniture maker, she teased. Well, we're both in the business of creating things built to last, he said, kissing the top of her head. Above them the moon rose, casting silver light across the lake. Not flashy or ostentatious, but enduring and true. Much like the love they had built together, its value lay not in its appearance, but in its permanence. A quiet richness that couldn't be captured in any photograph, but could be felt in every moment they shared. Some treasures, after all, were beyond price.